Okay, so David, Alex, it's good to have you with us for just before the start of the season. You've just had your last training session before Saturday today. How are you feeling ahead of the season?
Excited, reasonably confident. Usual nerves as you go into the first game. You hope everything comes together. And we've got a tough start, so it's a real mixed bag. But I think we're probably in a better place than we were a year ago, which is pleasing.
It's been an interesting summer for both of you, I suppose, in terms of players in and players out. I know the year before we didn't see much turnover in players, but probably from a fan's perspective, probably a bit of fear, I suppose, at the beginning of the season with us losing Mason, Jordan, and Freddie, probably the sort of a backbone of your team, as well as losing Kai and Tom going back to the clubs on loan, and Eden temporarily as well, having played so well. So, what was that like from the inside, not losing out, but letting those players move on to pastures new?
Tried, we'd retained a couple prior to the season finishing as it was. But I think at one point, if we're being honest, we were a bit sceptical as to how many we'd keep. Just because we've done so well through the season, it's obvious that you're going to get natural movement upwards, up the pyramid. Losing Mason was, I think for us to try and keep Mason, we tried as hard as to keep Mason, but he had an offer he couldn't turn down. But it weren't just Bootle, there were quite a few other clubs that were in for him, so it was always going to be really hard to do that. I think JB's made a really good move to Bamber. I think he'll only kick on really what he'll learn there off their gaffer. And Freddie's moved up too, which is what the plan was always really was with Freddie. Yeah. To try and give him as much opportunity as possible to get into Conference North, which is what he wanted. We then let some players go as well that we wanted to replace. So we probably brought 9 in, I think 8 or 9 in. That's probably the biggest bulk of players that Fish had brought in since he's been here.
We knew we'd lose the players, you said. It was inevitable we're going to lose. We're 3 on loan, we're also going to lose the players on loan. And those 3 were always going to move on. I think they were fairly clear in their intentions that Freddie always wanted to go into the Conference North. JB had his head turned with a couple of offers in the season. So it was likely he was going to move on, and he wasn't short takers, and Mason was in demand, having finished second top scoring. So we knew they were going to go. We did try to keep Mason. We did talk to JB, but it was inevitable, and therefore you then focus on who can we bring in instead. And we'd drawn up a target list well before the end of the season, actually. So we already had an idea of kind of every position who we thought we'd bring in, and we landed most of those targets, which was pleasing.
And for having lost those players, as big a losses as they were, you've managed obviously to retain some pretty big players in there with Umar, first season in the NPL last year and scored goals. Jack Bannister, who for large parts was one of our best players, and Bailey Marsden as well as obviously Kane. That it must be pleasing to have that sort of core of players, as well as keeping players like Josh Dickin and Jack Grundy at the back and Shane Killick.
Yeah, Shane Killick, Andy Keogh, so you've got tons of experience in there. Then you've got players like Josh Dickin and Umar, you mentioned, who played a year at this level, who were only going to get better. We saw improvement through that last season, and both of them are looking fitter and stronger, and much more confident, having kind of been in it for a year. I think they both believe that they belong at this level now, and they do. You haven't mentioned Will Shepherd. What a player to keep. I think he's as good a right back as you'll find at this level. And he's now accepted he's a right back, which is good. So we kept the players we wanted to keep, barring the 3 that we knew we'd lose and the loan players. So I think we did okay with that. As Alex said at one point, I was fairly confident. Alex was fairly pessimistic. Natural Yorkshireman shining through as ever. But I think we did pretty well in keeping what we kept, and that meant we could really focus on what strengthened us.
And you've brought quality in, I suppose, as well. Well, not I suppose, definitely have, in terms of Eden's come back from having been released and come back to us, which is from my point of view is a big coup for the club, in terms of he won't have been unnoticed, having dropped out of Altrincham, and the form he was in at the end of last season. That's got to be really pleasing to have got him over the line.
Yeah, massive. I spoke to Eden probably throughout the time that we were here, and we're trying to, just sort of saying plans and what are all they like, what are all they like with you and stuff like that. And he was open, honest with us the entire time. I personally thought he'd stay on another year at Ollie. I was quite surprised at the release, because he did okay at this level. He's young, he's got probably absolutely brilliant. But they made their decision really, and we didn't hesitate trying to get him in. Worked quite hard, we had to work with himself and an agent to get it done and get it over the line, and we managed to do it. Then the other signings that we brought in around it, so keeping Moldy up there as well. It was looking at squad wise, that was something that we struggled with last year. It was just probably the depth of in positions and making sure that people have that competition across the board, but bringing in good people as well, people that'll fit the club and what the change room's about, and not upsetting it really. So no, I think the recruitment's been really good.
There's been a couple of comments pre-season from opposition managers said the same thing. It's got to be pleasing for both of you. You've built the team around a philosophy of not just bringing in good footballers but bringing in good people, and that's been said a couple of times. I know Liam Watson said it in one of his post-match interviews, was that you don't bring in not good people. So that must be pleasing for you. It's not just the football side.
It's a real policy. It's something we focus on. It's getting the right characters for the dressing room, and we have moved players on when they haven't been those characters as well. And it becomes almost a virtuous circle. Good people become attractive because they get with the reputation that we've built, and Tots players already in there. So Chris Thompson spoke to Andy Keogh after I'd made the approach to Clitheroe, and spoke to Callum Lee, and gets the feedback around what the dressing room is like. So it massively helps when you're recruiting players and you attract this attract like. So it does make a massive difference. You look at Mark Lees, Callum Lee, Luke Barlow, the players we brought in, they just all fit in seamlessly.
And then you've got a squad now of 18, just around 18 outfield players. We've alluded to already. How do you keep them happy? Do you look at dual regs for some of them? I know a couple have already gone out on dual reg.
Yeah, there'll be a couple of the younger players who we look to dual reg. I think we'll lose a couple. I've said this in an interview previously. I think the reality is it's really difficult to keep 18, 19 players happy. Players want to play. So even if they're in the 16, they'll still be upset if you're not doing a bench for 3 or 4 games running. So it's going to be difficult, but we've got to try and manage that because we need depth. It definitely cost us last season. So we need that depth, and we're just going to try and manage it with duels and honest conversations with players, and there will be some natural rotation that happens. The challenge is we can't really force it. You can always cut your nose off to spite your face by forcing it and rotating too much.
I think as well, we worked hard in the summer to make sure that we had a pool of dual reg players as well. So although we've got 18, 19, we've also included players within that we've then advised to go to different clubs, and there's certain players that we'll keep tabs on.
Yeah.
We don't have situations that we had last season where we had 1, possibly 2 fit bodies on the bench, a couple of lads carrying. It's difficult. But like Fish said, there's no. I don't think there's any doubt really that we'll probably lose players in the next next 4, 5, 6 weeks. And I've said it to you previously. I've said it in other ways as well. But I think you can't focus on anything other than the next game this season. I just think it's impossible this season because there's that many strong teams in the league. It's just making sure that you put a team out there to win what you think can win that game.
The flip side of that is that if we do lose players, we can then access to a loan market. We've built over the last couple of years some good contacts in different clubs, and we've got access to that loan market, so we can all replace them through that route, and that worked pretty well for us last season. So something we will no doubt use again this year. But at the moment we've got real competition, so trying to pick 11 for Saturday is difficult. You could pick probably 50 different teams that would all be strong.
It's such a good position to be in, really, from the pre-season that we've had. It's just knowing that you can put anyone in from the 18 that we've got, 18 available that we've got on Saturday, and anyone will go in and just do a really good job. So it has been really positive. Really positive 6 weeks.
It feels like the difference between, and we are early doors, obviously we've not started the season, but you look at the last couple of seasons where we've had that, like you've just said before, we've got a couple of fit players on the bench, or you look and you think if Bailey picks up a knock, or if Mason had picked up a knock, then where we're going to get a goal from, who we've got to cover that position, whereas now, pre-season we've had distribution of goals across all of the front line, everyone's pitched in, but then you've got that quality to back up, where you've got Callum Lee has played sort of that sitting in front of the defence, picking up the ball. You've got Mark Lees who can just drop into that however you want. You've got that strength in depth that's completely different from what you've had in years gone by, and it's that really good mix of youth and experience at the same time.
I think, yeah, definitely there is that. And I think we mentioned it training tonight. It's Mason Thornton started on the bench last season. Yeah, he spent the first 4 games, I think it was, as a sub, sort of coming on and playing half hours and this and that. So it's not like just because whoever is on the bench on Saturday or misses out the squad completely doesn't mean that's that. With a couple of cup runs, you're looking at 45, 50 game season. So yeah, you need the squads, and with the one that we've assembled and built, and at the moment, and you just hope that you do keep it. Yeah.
And we've got a lot of versatility in there. So you look at Nicky Cleek play left back, play midfield, Mark Lees play midfield, centre half, Luke Barlow, Jack Grundy can play anywhere across the back four, Shep right back who can play midfield. So we have got quite a lot of versatility within the squad of players who can comfortably play 2 positions, and that's helpful. That's really helpful.
Yeah, definitely. So as much as you've done some really good recruiting on the footballing front, you've also brought in a couple of extra coaches. How does that feel from your point of view and your point of view? Just does it take the weight off? Does it?
Great after
anything. What have they brought in the time that they've been with you?
So Johnny introduced me to Giant Skittles, so that's a massive plus for him already. And Phil brought an Irish sense of humour, so straight away they're in great shape themselves. But the professionalism shines through. They can both really coach, both get on with the lads. It's interesting when you bring a goalkeeper coach and see how he, even silly things like where does he stand during a session, and we're doing set pieces, staying stood behind the goal, and it's those little things you can just see that they know the trade. And they've both already started to contribute to the broader discussions. He's freed Scott to do a bit more analysis, which he's excellent at. So we've now got a really good balance across the coaching and management team, which I think gives us different voices, different angles, different perspectives, different ideas, which is all positive.
Going into a 4th season as well, training, whether it's exercise that you're doing, training or training methods, or some of the lads have been with us for 4 years, so it's good to then get a coach that has a different ideas, different way of delivering, a different voice in different times as well. So it's really good to get Phil in and just and learn from. He's experienced a lot in his career. Such a, don't look young, but such a young guy. He's experienced a lot in his career, so yeah, I'm excited to learn off him as well, and he's coming in, lads, brought straight into what he's doing in the sessions that he's done, and yeah, it's really good balance. There's no room in dugout. So
I was just going to say, for all the subs that you've now got as well as off the staff.
There's no room in the dugout, it's just me and you.
No, that's for a different reason, isn't it?
So looking at the season ahead, it's a new league, a new look league really, with the teams that have come out. I think last year we made a big deal about how it was a really tough league, that we knew Mac would walk away and win the league eventually, which they did, and that hunt for the playoffs was what the rest of the pack were going for. This year, I don't know what you guys think, but it does look like any one of probably 12 teams could win the league this year, let alone go into the playoffs. So what's your opinion on it, first of all?
A 6-team swing in the league is bonkers. For a 20-team league. And the 14 that are left don't stand still in non-league football. A lot changes, so it's not completely unknown, but I think it is wide open. I think it's tougher. I think that the sides who finished above us will be at least as good. I think that they seem to have done good business in the year. Look at sides who finished last season strongly: Trafford, Prescott. I think they'll be good. I think the sides who came down will be good. And you've got 2 sides who come up in Outgrown Vauxhall who are ambitious, who are used to winning as well. It builds a bit of momentum. So straight away you look at what's come in, and you think you very easily get to that 12 teams who are going to be there or thereabouts.
And the teams who've moved sideways as well, Chasetown and Hensford are 2 good teams as well.
Yeah.
So it does feel like a harder league this year. I suppose from my point of view, or the one to ask you is, it'll be the first time in as long as I can remember, a very long time, where we've actually had derby games that you would class as a derby game. Glossop being the previous one that we had, which isn't really a derby. So having Stalybridge Celtic and Avro close by in our league on those games, that's going to be the Stalybridge Celtic game looks like it could be an absolutely massive crowd, as well as just being a great advert for local non-league football. It's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, I was based through the Staley Bridge. It's a club I'd always watched, but now I want to turn them over twice. But they'll be good. I mean, they'll bring a good following. I think if they start the season well, I think fans will buy into the new era there. I think they've got a really good opportunity, and in Kingsley they've got a manager who's bred a team who wants to win. If you look at his Withenshaw Town team, they got promoted and they've always been up around the top of the league, so they're going to be a real contender. So those derbies will be good. And then Avro, we've always struggled whether we played Avro in friendlies. They always have an experienced, hard-working side. Frosty found that extra ingredient last year. So
it's a tough place to go as well.
Tough place to go. So I think they're two good derbies. I think they'll get decent followers, but four really tough games against those two sides.
Both clubs, both of them, Stalybridge and Avro, have recruited well as well. Yeah. So they've retained, Avro obviously retained the players that they wanted to retain, but have brought in some real quality. I think Stalybridge have recruited well as well. Yeah, I think they're exciting games, especially the Stalybridge at home on Boxing Day. But I think it's going to be a bumper crowd. I think there's something on it as well. I tend to think that it's impossible to predict the table. We've tried looking at it and trying to have a chat, and there's no way of even predicting who's going to finish it anywhere. So I think games will have stuff on them. And yeah, no, it's good. Like I said, it's a really good advert for non-league.
It does feel like looking through the fixture list, and maybe last couple of years, you'd look at them and think there's a tough patch of games in there, but then there's a run of games that you'd expect to pick points up from, but it doesn't feel like there's a break at any point, and then it's every game's got something on it. Every game's a tough game. It does feel like the league is more competitive, and yeah, it really could be that big swing.
The only marginal saving grace is there don't seem to be quite as many early midweek games, but if things go to plan and we get a cup run, that changes. So that Saturday Tuesday is absolutely relentless. That's hard work. Trying to turn the players around, but trying to get your analysis done in between, trying to watch your own game match. You kind of non-stop from almost the Saturday to the Tuesday, and you draw directly straight to the Thursday and prep for the next one. It's hard work. So that's the only smile saving grace. But I'm hoping we ruin that anyway by having a cup run.
And in terms of your obviously clear where you want to be, where you see the team being. Playoffs again this year. You want to be playoffs, pushing for the league.
Yeah, that's the target. We improved last year, and we stuttered at the wrong time. I think Singwell Sport after the Runcorn game was tipping us as almost bankers for the playoffs, and we imploded. We just had that run of games where we just couldn't buy a win and kept losing 2-1. That's what we talked about. We didn't have anything to change it. We didn't have the bench to change it. We didn't have the personnel to change 11. We didn't have different systems. We kind of couldn't do anything. Eventually we got a couple of loans in, and that helped to turn the tide, and it was probably a little bit too late, not for lack of trying, but it was a little bit too late when they came in to get us into the playoffs. So we've learned from that. I think we're stronger as a squad. I think we know where we fell short in terms of training, prep, the things that we did, which was partly why we brought some new blood into the coaching team. So I think we're in a better place, and if we can improve again, we should be there or thereabouts.
And you said about having good cup runs, or hoping to have good cup runs. So we now know obviously that we play Ramsbottom on the 19th here at Seal Park. Thoughts on that one? A team who we had some competitive games with over the last few years.
Yeah, I think that'll be exactly. Yeah, they've had a bit of an indifferent start, but they've come back from losing positions a couple of times, and away it's not a lot of times. It's a tough game, to come away from that with a win. We've had them watched already, so some information on that we've sort of got, because we knew it obviously one way or the other. I think it'll be a good day. I mean, the FA Cup's always special. It's just a shame that we played Mac last year, and it really won it. I mean, yeah, the FA Cup's special. Making sure that we have an FA Cup run, not only is it good for the lads that are involved in it, but it's also really good for the club with the prize money that comes in and the gates that it can get. So it's FA Cup's a bit of a priority, really, to make sure that we definitely perform better than what we did last year. Similar in the trophy as well. I think we went out in all 3 cups last year in the first round. Didn't we? So yeah, cups are a bit of we definitely want to improve on last year's performance with it. And like I said, Rams will be tough. It will be tough. I think they showed glimpses last season. They didn't really belong with some of the big players getting injured consecutively, and they are a really good club. That's one that I'm looking forward to.
And they're a team we've had disappointing results against over the last couple of years, albeit the FA Cup game. I think it was your first season, that wasn't it? Where we beat them at home. That was a great night.
Kiss the ball, we kiss the badge.
Exactly.
reminded him on this 17 times I tried to sign him before he came.
And that was a Ramsbottom team who were in top 2, I think, all season as well, and looked like they might go up at one point as well. So yeah, it just shows anything can happen in the FA Cup, I suppose.
Yeah, and it also shows though, if you look at Ramsbottom, the COVID season, the first COVID season, they were bankers to go up.
Yeah.
And then the season afterwards, they started well, and COVID went. Chris Wilcox went to Workington. Massive change of fortune after that. Football's a bit fickle like that. So from my perspective, we're now coming into the third full season after COVID hit the first season. We've done better and better. We need to start capitalising on that. So whilst I don't feel particular pressure from the boardroom or the fans, I think we're putting pressure on ourselves this season to get into the playoffs.
Do you feel like it's you said there you've got better and better each year, and as part of that, we are where we are because we live within our means and we've done that. It gives you a sense of pride that the way that you've built the team is all done within a strict budget, within the way that you work, but also that you've been able to grow that team. And I think for me, we said at the beginning of the interview, but you look at players like Freddie Sass, Devon Matthews, Declan Evans have all gone and played National League football because they've worked under you guys, and you can see the players like the Will Shepherds, the Bailey Marsdens, who will probably go and do the same thing, plus several other players in the squad at some point. You must feel proud that you've gone on this journey from a next to nothing budget the first year that you started to where you are, but you've built that through hard work and good results.
Yeah, hard work and good results from us, but hard work and good results off the pitch from the rest of the club. And I remember sitting in the boardroom on Saturday when I was announced in almost exactly 3 years ago, I think it was. And talk to Tony Bugby and talk about the idea of a symbiotic relationship between the club and the community. And if you look at the gates, if you look at what we've done as a club in terms of the Monday Club, the autistic club who are using the ukulele society running club, the whole town comes together and people are buying into it, and I feel proud to be part of that and to influence that and to put good football teams out on the pitch. But it's only possible because of everything else that's happening, and that's why, as you say, the budget's crept up a bit, and we've also got our aims of developing players. We've said we'd develop players, we'd find good, talented young players and we'd develop them. I think with the recruitment we've done this year, there's another couple in there. I think we'll be on that journey. So it's, if I look back 3 years about what I said in the interview, I think I've kind of backed up pretty much everything I said I would deliver. So that's quite pleasing.
And it's getting fans in, like you said. I think people look back. I certainly look back and feel like I missed out not being alive when the glory days were, when they were packing thousands of people in here, and that might seem a long way off at the moment, but we got to a point last year where we hit 500 for the last 5 or 6 games in a row at home, and then it can keep growing, and the part that you two play in that and that the team play in that's quite a big thing moving forwards. But how important will the fans be to you guys this year? And it sounds like a daft question, but to you guys this year, home and away?
Massive. It's huge, and I think, like I said, to go 67 games with plus 500 on the gate, and then also the connection that the fans can go and chat to players in the bar after. And there's certain fans that can have made relationships with players, and it means a lot to them, and it means a lot to the players as well. And I think that's massive to see. Probably, and I've never been quiet about how important away following is for us, and the away days lot, and not just the away days lot, but everyone else that comes with it, and that's massive. And you can look back to Bootle a couple of years ago when we were right down, and they were travelled well that day.
Yeah.
And the fans can pick you up, but they also experienced massive moments that happened working to the away last season. I think that was a massive moment for the fans that travelled, and we won, and that's something else that we want to sort of replicate this year, and just making they're going shooting down, into the bottom side as loud as possible. And they just sort of suck the ball in, don't they? At times when we've got the ball wide and we're delivering it. So I think it's massive. I really do, and we hope to obviously increase crowds as much as what we can do. And see where it takes us.
Yeah, I think the fans see what we're trying to do in terms of playing football. And I think we've caught a few fans who've come in and enjoyed the experience. They've enjoyed watching good football. Team who wants to play. This still probably a myth around non-league. It's all kick and rush. It's far from it. It's certainly not how we play. Enjoying the whole experience of having a pint, getting a pint and having it on terraces with your mates. I was going to say in the sun, but that only happens like 3 days a year. But that whole thing, and the pilots got better and better since we've got here. We've got better catering and all that kind of stuff. Everything's improving. People come and enjoy the experience, which includes the football and everything off it and around it. And then they participate in the afterwards. So you celebrate together, you commiserate together. As Alex said, we've celebrated big celebrations, Workington and Marine, and I remember coming trudging off the pitch when we played 1874, half drowned, and going into the bar and thinking we need to go and see the fans, and the fans are singing and dancing, and don't worry about it, keep your head up, and that's massive. It's that thing of you in it together.
Yeah, so. Definitely. It definitely sticks with you. I think when you get that when you're losing, you're not going to come back in a game, but they're louder than the home fans and they're singing, they don't care. It's definitely good, and we do generally have a good backing away from home as well.
I think it also echoes sort of the players that we bring in, that they'll talk to the volunteers. And you tend to watch any of the lads when they walk in, they'll say hi to every volunteer that walk past. And that's massive for us, and that's something we've spoken to players about at times, about making sure that you do interact with fans, and we do applaud fans whether we win or lose a draw on the pitch, and we do go and say thank you for coming and thank you for supporting us. But also like the people that do put the hours in, like yourself and the board and the stewards and everyone else that does put the hours in, that you make sure that you go and speak to them, and give them the time of day. It's big.
And so we go this Saturday, Prescott Cables at home. You've had your last training session. Do you know you're starting 11? No.
4 of them, 5 maybe. Not all of them necessarily nailed down for which position they'll be starting in. It's tough. Everybody through pre-season, I said this to the players after the game on Saturday, every player has done everything you can ask in pre-season in terms of the commitment, the work rate and the quality they've put in pre-season games, and they've all put themselves in for a position to start the first game, which is great. That's what you want from the squad. It doesn't mean they'll be any less disappointed when they're not selected. It doesn't make it any easier for us to work out who starts, because I could make a case, or we both could make a case for any player, and there's all sorts of things running through our heads, and we've come up with multiple teams already, and I don't think we've agreed on any of them so far.
No.
Yeah, well, look, I can imagine it's a difficult decision, given just off the fact of how well, like you said, everyone's played in pre-season. You'd struggle. I wrote, I think I texted Alex the other day, so we were talking about how when I'd done a picture for a team sheet that I'd put a team in that I'd choose, and everyone's got a different opinion on it, because there's just quality everywhere, so it's a good place to be going into your first game.
It's a strange one, because the first game seems to have more context on it than what it would in the back end of October, for example. So I think psychologically players can get them. I think they can overthink selection on a game. Like I said, we'll select a side that we think can win that game, not someone that's impressed fully in pre-season over someone that hasn't. So we'll have areas that we know that Prescott are strong with, that we want to combat, but we'll have areas that we know that we're strong with, that we want to sort of capitalise on. So I think selection side is difficult, but it's the first game of the season. I think there's no context to the game either. That's a big thing. There's no knowing that Prescott are in a good run or whatever. There's no context to it. It's just the first game, and then it's waiting on Tuesday, and then Ryan, and then I think it's Widnes. So it's four tough. Saturday, Tuesday. It's tough, and then we'll go Saturday, Monday. So it's 6 games in August. So.
You say there's no context in terms of the game as well, but it's the same off the field as well, taking results into that. The context of not winning on the opening day doesn't actually matter that much, because we beat a team on the opening day last year who went and won the playoffs and were comfortably inside those playoffs, having had a pretty poor start to the season. I think they'd admit as well. So anything changes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it can be, exactly. I think that's the thing. I think just because it's the first game and and for 6 weeks everyone's been thinking about the first game of the season, I need to be involved in the first game of the season. It's difficult, don't get me wrong, I know that there was some really disappointing lads come Saturday, but there is a bigger picture, especially in August with the amount of games that we've got, and if we do win his FA Cup games, then that'll then go on
6 games in 20 days or something. It's phenomenal on football.
Yeah. With the bank holiday thrown in with the 2 and 3, So, but excited for the new season.
Yeah, quite pre-season. It feels like a necessary evil. Like you're doing everything, and you're just like, I want the games to have some meaning to it. You get to the second half of pre-season games, and you're always thinking about how do I balance minutes across the side, how do I give everybody fair cracks to show what they're about, how do I look at certain things. You don't care about winning, you care about just seeing certain things on the pitch. So you've got spreadsheets with different permutations on and formulas work out how many minutes different players have played and all this kind of stuff. And I think it's fine. Like do stuff on spreadsheets all day. To football that means something.
That's the thing with pre-season. I struggle with it.
You said, I think earlier on, that you hated it because you asked the players to come back fit to look after themselves over the holiday, and they do, and then you don't really want to run them that much in pre-season. You want to get with the ball, but it's hard, isn't it?
The first session will have there's a bit of a running drill that you do in a certain amount of time. Every player hits it. Whereas the year prior, there were players that were struggling with it. And every player hit it comfortably. So then you reassess it, like, well, why are we running? So we had balls out from session 1. That's not against people that run other teams, completely up to you, but we had balls out from session 1 because we just knew that lads were fit. That was it. So we just had balls out. We've had some good positive feedback from it. Some players pre-season. There's other times that you think, I don't know. I just don't understand running personally. Just running around. I don't really get it. But we've got a bunch of lads that don't need it. So it's difficult.
We're short of pre-season because we came like a week later. I don't think we're in a worse place for it. I really don't, because players did their own bits. Players do that. And we put a big emphasis on players doing the fitness stuff away. We get such little contact time. We've got so much to squeeze into that. You can't just do everything. So they need to do. Yes, we'll get fitness through high intensity drills, lots of repetition, lots of hard work in what we do with the ball, but not just let's go and going running for an hour is just an hour missed with the balls as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, one of our players last year, so Mason last year, at the end of the season, we were on a coach, we were chatting, all the players talking about what they do as a gaffer. Mason, I just run on pre-season, we running no balls for the first 3 weeks. The player you would least imagine to say that. And that's the thing, like different players have different views because they've experienced different things. I think I'm probably still haunted and influenced by my time as a keeper at 16, 17, 18 when I was only sending the balls out to kick them as far as they could in 4 opposite directions and making them around them. And I hated it. I hated every second of it. And I want to make football enjoyable because lads are giving up the time to be here, and if you don't make it enjoyable here, they'll go somewhere else where it is.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for your time for tonight, and then good luck on Saturday against Prescott Cables.
Thanks, Nathan. Thanks for all your time and hard work.